I would like to read anything with somebody. If people would just...
You're deprived.
I do. I just think if anybody would read alongside me...
Welcome to Classical Etc. You're in the studio with Memoria Press.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Classical Etc. I'm Jessica Aboud, and you've got the Core Four with you today. Martin, Tanya, and Paul. Hey, everybody.
And Jessica.
And Jess.
Well, me. Oh, yes. Did I say my name?
You said Core Four, and then you named three people.
I was wondering what her name was.
I need the math drills in my life, I guess. Well, if you're watching on YouTube, you see we are surrounded by a stack of our own books. We didn't write them, of course, but these are part of our personal reading goals for the year. And that is what we want to discuss together today. So we're going to skip the what we're reading section because the whole episode really is what we're reading in 2026. And this episode was partly prompted by a listener question. We are serious that we love to get those. So I thought we could get right to it. And I'm going to read his question. And then everybody, I want you to chime in because he asked a really good reading question. This is from Patrick in Australia, and he says, I have a question about keeping up a love for reading while carrying a high reading workload. I know a few people that are avid readers until later in high school or university where they were required to read a lot, and suddenly reading felt like a chore and not a joy. So he wants to know if we have any ideas for how to cultivate and not dull a love for reading when you've got a lot of reading to do in the rest of your life. What would you say to Patrick?
I feel like when reading becomes a chore, it tends to be because you're no longer interested in what you're reading, or you've read so much about it that just that curiosity is just gone, right? And so I tend to vary what I read at home versus what I read at work. Work for me tends to be nonfiction reading. At home, I almost exclusively read fiction, unless something's like really piques my interest.
I would love to do that, but I never have any time at work to read the things I need to read for work. So I find myself reading them at home, and it's not. I would love to just read fiction at home. I'm not a huge fan of nonfiction, but I read a lot of nonfiction. But it's not the first thing I would choose at home to pick up, but just my circumstance forces me to have to do it at home. But I do think that's the difference is you should be reading things that are just even entertaining. They don't have to be like I'm reading Against the Machine, which is very well written, very good book, but I'm also reading North and South. And if I had my choice, I would always pick up North and South first. And that's probably a weakness in me that I would prefer the fiction to the nonfiction.
I don't know that it's a weakness. I mean, I at one point in my life, especially because of studies, he's talking about like studies like college, right? Like I was reading a lot of philosophy and theology, and as I kind of left that time period in my life, I kept reading that stuff. And then it just dawned on me that actually like I need some fiction in my life, and things shifted, right? And so I can go back and I can read the nonfiction, but I just realized like in the season of life that I just needed to do fiction. I don't know that that's a weakness. Because,
no, I think it's just, you rested your brain a little.
Yeah.
And I hear people all the time, like Shane, your predecessor, Shane. He always said, he preferred nonfiction, but he kept saying, I need what fiction does for me. I need in my life. I need fiction in my life because it does do different things.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm in a situation that most people are not in that I have to read for work, And so,
we're not in that situation.
None of us.
No, I was pointing to you because you said that, so I'm
okay.
I'm echoing what you said. You should be happy. So I I'm taking it that this person is coming from a situation where that's not the case, right? Or it's an academic case where like there's all these books you have to read for your degree, like what you're talking about. And, I remember, one of my degrees is in economics, and I always found economics boring. I don't know why I majored in it. And then I was taking a philosophy degree at the same time, and that I loved. So, of course, it's going to be easier to read the things that you like as opposed to read things you don't like. And I don't really know what to do about that. I just yesterday, I would have given the answer, well, just trudge through the stuff you've got to read, and then just take a break and go and read the thing that you like to read.
Because I think that's what most people do.
I think that's what most people do.
When they're in grad school.
I do that, but then I was convicted last night because of one of the books on my stack here, because it says that you really shouldn't do that. You need this focus, and you need to maintain a focus. And this is one of the reasons why people are all ADHD anymore.
You mean we should just read one book at a time?
We shouldn't flip around. I mean,
oh my
because this is what it's an argument against screens. There's so many screens in our lives, and we're flickering around.
But I think it sounds like the argument is against sort of the being driven by the emotion of what you want to be looking at, as opposed to we have 3 books that we're concurrently reading. Maybe I'll sit down with one for half an hour and I go sit down with another one for half an hour.
Yeah. And sometimes that kind of
thing.
Syntopical reading is what Mortimer Adler calls that. Sometimes if it's the same subject, I think that's not really what he's talking about.
No, especially if you're working on a speech or something and you need to know what various people say about it. But sources. I never read more than one fiction book at a time. And
Really?
Yes. So I would never read, say, North and South and Sense and Sensibility at the same time. But what I'm reading at the same time is Against the Machine and North and South.
I see.
One fiction and one workish book that is edifying to me as well.
I mean, I would also say that accountability is helpful for trudging through, and
it is.
I am
so
looking
helpful.
forward to tonight when we have our book club on Wind in the Willows, because I need to be set straight. But I would have set that down halfway through.
Oh my gosh! I plan to set you straight.
But the last 2 chapters, great, loved it. It was wonderful. But I finished it because I knew I was going to have to be confronted by Tanya.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. Don't criticize it if you haven't finished
that it. Accountability is sometimes necessary just to get through the book.
You need an enforcer.
Well, and I don't, I won't read a book if I'm not interested in it, because, I'm reading not just for pleasure, but also I write. And so I have to, usually I've got a stack of 5 books sitting there on the topic I'm writing about, and I try to make my way through those books, and I'm writing about it
because you're interested in it.
I mean, I'm interested in my work, so that's all I do.
But you also have a wide variety of interests.
That's true.
So somebody who's got a very narrow interest, it's not probably wise to say just read what you're interested in.
Yeah, you need. I want to go outside of whatever. So those people need to go outside the particular subject.
Sure. Okay, on to the main show. We have, like I said, a bunch of books in front of us, and they're all so different as I'm looking at the titles and the covers, and they're not necessarily like run of the mill. So I've got a couple questions that I hope maybe draw out the deeper reasons why some of these are part of your goals for the year. And the first question is, when you look at your stack of books that you intend to read this year, does any sort of theme emerge? Like, do you see a common theme, or is it truly just a constellation of things that you've got for the year?
Mine is a constellation.
So is mine.
I literally went through my bookcase of unread books and chose the things that I wanted to be on top of that. And some of it is like this book that Paul gave me last year.
Oh, I've read that.
The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating, which you both highly recommended, which I've had for now 2 years. Yeah. And I haven't read it. And so I thought, well, I need to read this.
Yeah.
And then something, like I made my list. I made my book list of what is my goal for reading in 2026. But since then, I keep adding. That's my problem.
I know.
I've read Sense and Sensibility more than once, but I was just recently at a regional teacher conference. And I sat at the table at dinner one night with a group from HLS Anderson, and they were just raving about how this is their favorite Jane Austen. And so I was like, okay, now I'm going to go home and put this on my 2026 shelf. Okay. And then this morning I read a forum post where Mrs. B said that her favorite Agatha Christie was The Mystery of the Blue Train. And she rereads it all the time. And so I was like, well, I need to know why, because I'm a huge Agatha Christie fan, so I've ordered that.
Do a lot of the books in your list come from recommendations from other people?
Yes, mine do.
How about you?
I think so. Hold on, I need to look at this.
Look at your list.
My list. Yeah. All of them but one or two were recommended. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How about you?
I will read some things like like one of the people I read is Joseph Epstein, who's I think our greatest living essayist in English, and he writes about books. So I'll get a book that Joseph Epstein recommended to me. I don't have a lot. I mean, I'll see some comment in a journal or a magazine about something, and I'll buy it. But I don't have a lot that people have. Well, Paul recommended, and it's in his stack behind, but the Against the Machine book by Paul Kingsnorth, which was a great recommendation.
But that was recommended to me by Dan Scheffler.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's just what happens.
Yeah.
We just spread it out.
Yeah. Have you read? Jess and I are always talking. She sits next to me. So
have you read
this? Or have you seen this?
That's exactly right.
I got this Absent in the Spring, Agatha Christie writing as Mary Westmacott, because of somebody, one of our customers who recommended this, and I'd never heard of it. A lot of my recommendations in the past year have come from podcast people who are recommending books, and they seem to be doing really well. But I want to ask you all something. Why do I have The Door by Magda Szabo?
Okay, why are we supposed to answer the question?
That rings a slight bell.
Why would I have bought this? I've never heard of it before. But it looked good, so I put it on my list. But I don't know who recommended it to me.
Speaking of looking good, take note of something here.
Oh, this is...
I don't know if the
isn't that beautiful?
Viewers can see it. This is a Sense and Sensibility, and what's the
Chiltern.
Chiltern. I have the same book.
Yes,
Sense
but yours isn't near.
By Jane
but yours
Austen,
is pretty too.
And this is Wordsworth Press.
Yes.
And I used to do these, but I switched.
Yes, that's pretty.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Get a good, beautiful hardback.
Let me see if it stays open well, because I can't stand it. Oh yeah, this is fine.
Yeah, I really like them. Yeah,
this is.
So I got a whole bunch of the Austens that I haven't read yet.
Fun.
Got them.
Do they print a lot of things?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Gotta go. Okay.
I have a comment before you have a question.
I'm serious, guys. We will not get through this if we keep rabbit trailing because Paul has to go. Okay.
When I went and looked through, because I didn't make Tanya makes a list.
I did make a list. Yeah. This is new for me. This is new for me.
Right? Yes, but that's very in line with your personality.
It is very much in line. It made me feel so good.
My mode of operating is I just kind of look at my shelf, which it's all unread books, and I say, this is what I want to read, right?
Huh, okay.
And I have a section on farming. I have a section that's nonfiction. I have the entire set of great books. I've got, section on philosophy. And I mean, there's just...
But you have organized them in a Tanya-like way.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so when I say I'm having a hankering for something philosophical, boom, I go, right? Or I need to do some reading on farming, boom, I have stuff. But so I just kind of selected books kind of out of those categories.
I see.
But what I found myself doing, and this goes back to reading more fiction than nonfiction, is a lot of the books I want to read are actually nonfiction, and it's like my whole stack was becoming nonfiction, but it's because I always opt for the fiction when it comes down to actually sitting down and reading the book.
Now, part of this is because we're tired at the end of the day because we've been looking at words all day long.
Right.
And so you just really need something like Sense and Sensibility at the end of the day. I mean, it's true. I don't have any brain cells left.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I want you each to answer this. Is there a book in your stack that you wouldn't have chosen 10 years ago?
10 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. What is it for you, Paul?
10 years ago, it's the 2 on farming.
Really?
The Liturgy of the Land and the
That's
Biological
right.
Farmer.
That's right.
Yeah.
But also, it was around that same time where I started talking to people, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. And, what was his name? The man from Baker Academic Press, that we met at ACCS. And he was just a delightful man. And he retired like a year or two later. I can't remember his name. Anyway, we were talking just about, and he's the one who got me started on the Southern Agrarians. So the Southern Tradition at Bay by Richard Weaver is something that I just would not even been on my radar at all.
Interesting.
But he recommended it, and I think it sat on my shelf for several years. So I started reading the I'll Take My Stand, which is essays about Southern Agrarians. And then this is sort of a follow-up to that. So that's...
Gotcha.
So some of these I wouldn't have chosen just because I hadn't heard of the authors, but but really the one probably that I just wouldn't have chosen is Solzhenitsyn 10 years ago. I would never have thought I want to take that on. And now, why I'm starting with, I've just heard so much about what a great author he is, and I just got interested. I just thought I should have read something by Solzhenitsyn, but why did I choose this 3 volumes of the Archipelago?
The Gulag
Archipelago. I can never say that. I have to look at it to say it.
You should be required to be able to pronounce the title of any book.
Well, you should, but...
but that's what he's known for, right?
I know, which is why I chose it, but it's 3 volumes. It's this big.
It's because he spent a long time in prison. That's what it's about.
I know. So we'll see. But I would not have chosen that 10 years ago.
Martin, is there anything that...
Well, there's 3 candidates here for that.
I want to put the Quo Vadis on my list.
Well, okay. Let me talk about this one. Quo Vadis, which is a book that was written in Polish. It won the Nobel Prize for Literature. This is back early 20th century, maybe. Yeah. And it was made, I knew it because of the movie. It was one of the great biblical epic movies, and it's actually very good. I watched it a few years back. That's the way I knew about it. But Americans knew about it primarily through the movie. Well, it's a book, and Allie Ellison, who we know, has put that back. Ellis, has put that back into print with an intro by Tracy Lee Simmons. And I started reading it, but I would never have. This is one of those old hardbound books on a dusty shelf in a used bookstore that nobody read anymore. So this is back on my radar screen.
Love it. Okay,
and so that's my.
I notice you're not trying to pronounce the author's name.
Sankowitz. I don't know. Well. Gulag Archipelago.
I can never say it. I can never say it.
Is there a book in your list that you are pretty sure you're not going to love? And maybe you don't know if it was just a recommendation and you haven't.
I have my doubts about Sigrid Undset's The Wild Orchid.
Somebody told me that was better than Kristen Levenstadter.
Really? I got it because I haven't read Kristen Levenstadter. I'm a little intimidated to start a 3-volume set. And
exactly.
So
maybe you start Kristen when I start Solzhenitsyn.
Well, I want to read The Wild Orchid first, see if I like it, and then I'll be willing to take that on.
Yeah.
The Last of the Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper. All right. Now, I tried to read this book.
I did too.
And
really?
Oh my God.
Do you like it?
I remember very much enjoying that.
What's a challenge about it?
It's just the way it's written is so turgid. And Kyle Yonke here, our literature guy, he loves this book. And I promised him I would try to read the whole thing.
Okay.
But Mark Twain wrote, after I had tried this once or twice, Mark Twain wrote this book talking about James Fenimore Cooper's writing style, and it's one of the it's the greatest literary takedowns.
Let me see your volume.
One of the greatest literary takedowns ever. I mean, it's so funny. It is.
This is fine too.
Well, yeah. Only the best for the
I remember it being enjoyable to me, but this is one of my constant sources of contention with you all is I am less focused on how a thing is said than what is said. And so I don't remember struggling with his writing style because I was focused on what was actually happening.
That's
Read
right.
the Mark Twain critique.
I think I have.
When I read a particularly moving nature scene out of, I think, Rumor Garden, and you were like, that means nothing to me. That did nothing for me.
Okay. Yeah. You somewhat answered this, but which book is intimidating to you?
Well, I already answered mine.
Yeah. Yours is Last of the Mohicans.
I feel like Quo Vadis is also intimidating. Look at this.
That's heavy.
It is. And it's a translation. And so you don't know how. And
this is the original translation. The translation preserved the original Polish where the address, if I'm talking to you, referring to you, is the old thee, thou.
Oh, so
and when they're speaking.
That's intimidating
and
to me.
Tracy mentions that in the intro. That's kind of funny at first. But
I will say I'm intimidated by The Biological Farmer.
You should be.
Is it more of a textbook?
Gary Zimmer. I've heard of him. I wonder why.
I would think Wendell would know about him.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it's more chemical than, or like there's more of the science that breaks things down into their parts than I like to be involved in. I like to be involved in the farming that is looking at things as wholes
organically,
than breaking it down into these microscopic parts, which I think is what he's trying to advocate for. Is you can understand all the chemical stuff, but you also have to be looking at the biology, which is just the whole organism working together. But that does intimidate me.
If that was on my list, it would be the book that I don't want to read.
Oh, really?
That I think I'm going to hate.
I have Little Women on my list this year, and I am intimidated.
Look how big that is.
Well, it is big, but also, so many people have such an attachment to this. What if I don't? Do I not have a soul?
No, that's not true. It's not
because
my favorite
so many
book
people
at all.
just
they're
so endeared to it.
It's one of the rare books that I've put down halfway through and said I can't get through it.
I'm worried about that for me.
And you read cookbooks.
Well,
oh, isn't this pretty?
Yeah, that's really neat. So someone in my book club at Christmas, we have a gift exchange. And this is the book that I just picked out of the stack. It's a fictionalized biography of a woman named Anne Lowe, who was born in the Jim Crow South in the early 1900s. And she wanted to be a fashion designer. And she ended up becoming one of the most noteworthy designers. She sewed and developed Jackie Kennedy's wedding dress. She was quite prolific, but her career kind of got swept under the rug. She was an African American one of the reasons I love biographies is because I do want to know about her, but I learned so much about that era. You know, and I haven't read much about. It's just her life, I think. And this book was very well received, so I'm excited about that.
Well, I was interested to see the mix of types of books, because you got
that's right.
novels, you've got it. You mentioned biographies. I have a biography that I found at a book sale on Booth Tarkington. This is the definitive biography. Booth Tarkington was one of the great American writers. He won the Pulitzer twice. He's one of only 4 writers who've ever done that. Nobody knows about him. He's
Have you read anything he wrote?
Oh, yeah. Penrod.
Yes.
He wrote Penrod.
Yeah, he wrote Penrod. He wrote
Martin talks about Booth Tarkington a lot.
And it's a name you can't forget.
And so I really like this writer. And here I found the old biography of him. So
there you go. Yeah. What's that one under there?
It's I have 2 Angus Fletcher books. He's Angus. I have 3 books in here that I'm trying to read because I'm trying to get this thinking skills book off the road. And Angus Fletcher talks a lot about the importance of narrative in thinking and judging. And so I thought that sounds very interesting.
Wind in the Willows, right there. The importance of narrative.
Okay, we'll talk about it tonight.
Is there a book in your stack that is one you want someone to read with you?
I got a book that I'd like somebody else to read.
Go for it, Martin.
Well, okay.
Oh, you haven't read The Giver?
I have not read The Giver by Lois Lowry. It's It's just one of those books I just don't have any desire to read. It sounds like kind of science fiction-y, kind of dystopian, all this sort of thing, which I don't normally like those kind of books.
And they're all over.
But I promised Andrew Pudewa I would read this book. And so
that's fun.
by golly, I'm going to read that book.
I would like it to read anything with somebody. If people would just
You're deprived.
I do. I just think if anybody would read alongside me and to have the conversation about it, I think would be amazing.
My heart goes out to you.
Yeah, well, maybe you all should. I'll tell you what I'm reading, and you can all read it with me.
We will all be doing Tanya's 2026 book
why
list.
wouldn't we want that? That's right.
Well, do you
why
think
are you all even here?
So this is kind of a parallel question. Is there a book that you think you've chosen that would be really good for a book club?
Oh, well.
To me, it depends on what kind of book club. There are so many. There are book clubs and there are book clubs.
The book club.
So here's one for me. Someone
that's right.
recommended. I don't have the physical book, but I do have the printout.
I can't believe you did that.
Well,
it's so cute.
Yeah. So I don't know if anyone's heard of Remarkably Bright Creatures. I have no idea what this book is about, but a bunch of people have recommended it and it gets a lot of good reviews. I know that really means nothing, but I think I would like to do it in a book club just to see what everybody says about it.
Well,
I don't
that's
know.
one of those books I see on Audible.
Right.
And that everybody just loves. And the last book I read that everyone loved was terrible.
Right.
So
and that does happen. I know.
I'm going to look for something everyone hates.
But that's kind of nice about a book club is it doesn't really matter what it is. Sometimes you just want to know what people are saying.
But I want a book club that would go with me through a book chapter by chapter
and discuss one chapter
a week.
one
chapter at a time. I've
Your book club's going to be meeting into eternity.
No. That's the thing is I think the only time I've ever done this is when my wife and I were dating and we read a marriage book and every week we talked about a chapter.
Right.
It was very.
And you're still together?
And we're still together.
Wow.
It was great because it kind of set up our expectations. What is marriage? All that kind of stuff. But I would do that with Against the Machine.
Yes.
I would. That would be very helpful to me.
I would do it with a book of essays, right? In fiction, you kind of have to read the whole thing and then just talk about it, right?
Yes, but even with fiction, the way we do it in our classrooms, I think is really helpful for, because we are going chapter by chapter by chapter. And I do think that's really helpful for students who are learning to be good readers. But I do think for essays, it would really help to just stop and talk about each one.
Yeah. And because then you get an idea of, okay, what was the main thing being said here? Is there a strong case for it? Is there not? What did I miss?
I was in a book group, the one I talk about all the time, that was my very favorite book group ever. And we read I'll Take My Stand alongside another book that is out of print now. But we read one of those essays each month so we could talk about it, which then, it did take us a year because
But you had something else alongside it.
We did have something else alongside it. But, at work we could do something like Against the Machine.
Yeah.
And just have a half-hour conversation.
That would hold me accountable to read it.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be, a lunch group. And that's a good point. This doesn't necessarily have to be a book club that takes you away in the evenings once a week or something.
That's right.
You could, if you have a coworker, you could say, hey, one lunch a week or every 2 weeks.
Yes, one lunch, or, if you're fortunate enough to work for a publishing company where books are so important, you could probably get away with it even,
on work time.
Yeah.
I'll remember that.
I think we did that a little bit when I was working in banking. I think we had a
I'm
little
sure.
group that
Oh,
once a week.
nice.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
Well, and that's a good point. There are so many fields where it's not just in publishing where you read to keep up with what you're doing, what your company's doing, what your industry's doing. Finance and banking is a good one. I mean, you've got books on economics, you've got all kinds of things. Right.
We read
But
other books. Yeah.
there's so many.
That's great.
Okay. Go
on
ahead.
this topic, I mean, books do create community. So this book that I have, The Liturgy of the Land.
Oh, Paul.
I've
Okay.
heard of that too.
This is Cultivating a Catholic Homestead.
Wow.
This is Andrew Pudewa's copy and his wife. They lent it to me when I was there and I was supposed to read it and give it back to him. So this is why it's on my 2026 list.
Oh.
So I can read it, get it back to him. But, they brought it up because the community that they're living in, like they all did this as kind of as a book club book together.
Oh, wow.
To talk about why are we together? Why have we left cities, moved out here to a rural area? What are we trying to build? And so that's also something that, you can have a book that gives a community its vision.
Yes.
So that's why I want to read it, and
that's beautiful.
I feel like I need to get back to him.
Now, are you and Sarah reading that together? Or is it just really something you pick up when you have time?
I don't know. I mean, I'll pick it up when I have time. And then when and sometimes, you read something, you're like, oh, hey, you should read this.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right. Or we should, go back and start at the beginning, and read it.
I feel like you should buy your own so you can mark it.
I don't know that this is a
it has
mark.
pictures.
It's not really like a mark. Maybe it's a marking book. I don't know.
I would think it would
beautiful
be.
pictures.
The format is interesting. When it
any
says
book
Liturgy
is a
of the
marking
Land,
book.
I was picturing almost like poems or prayers. It isn't.
No,
it's a
I
book.
do think that there's a time where they talk about what I've always wanted to do, which is read Wendell Berry's poem on the hog slaughter, when you slaughter a hog. I do think that's in here. But no, this is just talking about how the land itself is a liturgy if you're living on the land.
Okay, I misunderstood.
And how
okay.
you, when I kind of skimmed through a couple things, and one of the books that they recommend or that they kind of cite a lot, I had and I read 5-6 years ago when I started farming, which is called The Church in Farming, which was actually like a bunch of bishops arguing for the agrarian life back in like the 30s and 40s, which was interesting. And they're taking their inspiration from that.
Okay. Maybe one or two more questions. Is there a book in there that's just a curveball? You're like, this isn't me.
Well, apparently the door is a curveball for me since I don't even know why I have it. But I obviously bought it because somebody told me, and I paid $18 for it.
Oh my.
Yeah. But so that is but this is a curveball for me. The sound of a wild snail eating.
You will like it.
I would never.
The title is not going to appeal to you, but you will like that.
See
book.
how small.
Oh, and look, it came with chicken stickers. I didn't even find those.
Oh, that's
Chicken
funny.
stickers.
I gave those to you.
Yes.
Why did
and
I
I
give you
didn't even
chicken
know they were
stickers?
in the book.
I can't remember why.
Because
I
you
did
have
that.
had known
chickens.
that Paul gave
Because you
those
have
to you.
chickens.
Yeah.
Put those on your water bottle.
Aren't they cute?
They are.
They are.
You could read that in an afternoon. I did on Christmas break one year.
Okay.
It's fast.
Well, but it is a curveball for me. I would not have bought it.
I think my curveball is a cookbook. It is one of my main goals this year outside of reading is to cook through a cookbook in a year. And
you're kidding.
No.
You're going to cook through that whole cookbook?
Well, I'm giving myself a few, I can skip like 5 recipes because, there are a lot in there.
Yes.
So
how
we
did
shall
you
see.
pick that one?
Well, it's really good. And most of it, I think, looks delicious. So that helped. And people in my house will eat it.
Well, and the subtitle is Simple Dinners for Every Day. So
Right.
that feels like an appropriate cookbook for that kind of project.
It's called The Modern Proper. It's 2 women who have written, on their websites about food for a long time, but they developed a really beautiful cookbook. Someone gifted it to me about 2 years ago, and I cooked a little bit through it and was like, this is fantastic. And I said, this is the year. Look, it has a whole
at all the
section on meatballs, which my kids, my family's going to love that.
You're not going to cook through it. You're going to jump around, but make sure you hit them all.
Exactly. And I date
otherwise
on the
you'd
page.
have like a whole month of chicken. And a whole month
you
of
can
pork
see
and beef.
like one of
She dates the page.
I do. One of the meatball pages, I've made this recipe 5,000 times somewhere. And anyway, so that's my
problem
curveball.
with cookbooks is that I'll get a cookbook and there's only like 2 or 3 recipes in there that I really like. And I bought this book this big, and where
This
it's like
one's
go on the
different.
internet and I can get something
You
and
need
put it
this
in my book.
cookbook.
And
It's really
apparently,
good.
we'll talk about
Well,
it.
the problem with the internet though is you go and you cook something really good unless you're really good about printing it out and saving it.
Well, that's why I got a notebook and I just put it in.
But you have to be good about it because I've lost great recipes where I'm like, that was amazing. Where was that?
I know.
I just don't like to cook. I don't want to cook, but don't give me a cookbook.
Oh, come over. I'll have leftovers every week, actually.
I think every book on my list, people will say, I understand why you're reading that. I don't know that I have a curveball, but I do have, I do have my Graham Greene book. I have to have
Yes,
my
you
Graham
do.
Of course.
But when I was looking through all my books, I have like 6
that you haven't read?
Yeah, and I was like, I'm just going to
nice.
bring one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the fiction that nourishes my soul.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then I've got all these British mysteries that, I've got all these authors I follow. So when a new book comes in, they're not on my list either, but I will read them. I will take a break from my list and read them. So it's just messy.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Martin.
I have
Curveball.
several oddballs. Really, the biography sort of an oddball. But maybe Angus Fletcher, who writes on thinking and speaking, and has got a book called Wonderworks: Literary Invention and the Science of Stories. And we're sitting there talking about reading narrative fiction and all this stuff. How does that work? What makes a narrative work? One narrative and then not another one, or whatever. And so that's always sort of fascinated me, and how a story gives meaning to events. Outside of some narrative construct, a lot of events don't have any meaning at all. So why is that? And how? And he uses it in terms of we have all these arguments about things. How does stories work into
Do you
that?
think he's going to say there's some sort of formula?
Well, there is a formula. I mean, in the sense of, there's certain story elements, there's characters, there's plot, there's, a theme, all that. But
it looks like it all comes from Shakespeare.
Well, there's a lot of he writes, has a lot of Shakespeare in here.
But everything
Douglass,
leads to Shakespeare.
Kafka, yes, right, yeah. So Shakespeare's very central. So I just find that whole thing very fascinating. The whole role of stories in argumentation. People don't talk about this, and that sort of thing. So that to me was an oddball kind of book.
Okay, final question. Give us your absolute favorite, the one that if you just had your own time,
you would just pick it up.
You would just grab it.
Probably for me, it's I've got a very nice edition of The Jungle Book. The Jungle Books by Rudyard Kipling. Because I'm still trying to get myself out of the old Disney cartoon vision of this book, because the book is so different. The book is a very serious, mythical type of thing, whereas the Disney version, as so many of those animated things, it's way oversimplified and doesn't get into what this book is really about. So I've read parts of it before, but I wanted to read the whole thing.
I think mine would be anything that Wendell Berry wrote. So this is his new Mars Catlett, The Force of a Story.
For me?
No, not for you. I haven't read it yet.
Is it new?
It is brand new.
Now, what's Mars's relation to Andy Catlett?
His
you've got family tree
Andy
in there.
Catlett's story begins as his grandfather, Mars Catlett.
But
he's got a timeline, a family tree, because it is so hard.
That's what that's
wow.
I'm so excited here.
He's fighting the mic.
That's what Wendell Berry's been needing is a family tree.
Oh, he does it in a lot of the books.
Yeah,
they're all related.
They've added it. I don't know when it hasn't been out very long.
I was reading a book recently with a lot of different characters, and they were all related. And I kept thinking, but Wendell puts in a tree, a family tree, and I need that.
Yes, I need it as well.
I think the book that on my list, it's been on my list for years, that I would pick up in a heartbeat. I had to print it because it's out of print.
Oh, so you can't find it?
Well, I found it. It's sad. They're all beat up. But yes, I can get it on, I think, Abe Books or something. I looked today. It's called I Beheld the Mountains by Joseph Payne. And it's a missionary's notes, like field notes. And it's been published 2 different times, once in the 40s and then again in the 60s. And it's out of print at this point. But it's the story of a very young couple who moves to Inner Mongolia in the early 1900s, and they kept notes, and a lot of it is pretty sparse. They had to be careful with what they reported, but it's supposed to be good. And I have always been, I love missionary biographies. They're, just a very special genre to me. So I would love to read that, but it's really hard to find. So I haven't been able to, but this is a year I'm going to track it down.
You should give this little thing to Martin and let him be looking for it, because he loves used bookstores.
You give me this. I already took.
I'm going to give you a mission.
Oh, give me that.
Okay.
Got a thief among us. It's being handled. Paul?
I would, any of my Graham Greene books, I would just pick up and I would read.
Yeah.
you just never know what you're going to find on the back of one of the covers of his books. There was one that I have, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's kind of his story of going through some remote area where like no white man had ever been through. And because he writes about those areas because he actually went and did that. So I'm curious because that sounded more autobiographical than fiction.
If you hadn't been a huge Graham Greene fan and really encouraged Graham Greene at our MP book group, I don't know that I would have picked him up and reread because I'd read The Power and the Glory, I think, years ago, like in my 30s. And I just wasn't that captivated at that time. But I'm really glad now because everything that I've read by him, I've enjoyed.
Yeah, because I got us to read at least 2 or 3.
Yes,
didn't I? It was just like
Monsignor
Quixote. Well, we read Don Quixote in order to go read that.
Yes, which wasn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That's the thing is you never know what's going to surprise you either.
I know
because I read Moby Dick last year, and I thought I would hate it, and it was the book that intimidated me the most, and I really liked it, and I'm so glad that I got over the intimidation and read it.
It's fun to get to know everybody a little bit better, what's on your horizon for 2026. And now we'll know how to check in with each other.
Right.
So,
and we can see how we've done at the end of the year because I have mine written down in a logical order.
Really?
Yes.
Good for you.
I can't wait for Martin to come in and say he's been reading The Giver.
Right.
No, I'm dreading it, but I promised somebody I'd read it. So.
Oh, yeah, that's fun, though, to read something that you don't. That's really kind of why I read Moby Dick.
Good exercise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Well, we've got our work cut out for us this year, but I think we're going to do it. Well, thank you for joining us. We wish you happy reading. We would love to hear from you what's on your list this year because we take your book recommendations seriously. Like Tanya said, some of these are from you. So let us know what you're reading and we'll be back next time. Thanks for joining us today on Classical Etc. by Memoria Press. If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, or share this episode or comment. We love to hear your questions and your comments. If you want to learn more about Memoria Press, please go to memoriapress.com. This has been Classical Etc. We're so glad you joined us, and we'll see you next time.